Hello everyone, how's everyone doing? Hope everyone's having a nice Saturday night. Today we're going to be doing the weekly data reviews. This is the week of Monday, November 3rd. This week was a losing week, as we can see from these three losing trades. Now, early on in the week, did not take any trades, then I took three trades, two on Thursday and one on Friday. So I've been on a very harsh losing streak recently. Last week I was up 8%. This week I am down almost 2%. So that is very unfortunate, but I got out of it. And, you know, this doesn't really mean anything on the long term. We had a very poor week, and we still are able to perform better on the following week's numbers. Um, Even though they do contain monetary value, they're not a direct reflection of how my trading is. However, there are some things that I want to, mention and talk about here. So before we get into the losing trades, I want to actually look at the economic calendar. Uh, so this week was NFP, and the news obviously wasn't released because of the government shutdown. So um, I didn't trade on this day, and I didn't trade here because the GOLTS job openings were not released, so if not, then I had no trade. And then here we had the Wednesday non-farm employment change, which I didn't see a viable trade. And Thursday and Friday are the days that I took trades, even though that we didn't have any red news because these weren't released. Anyway, I want to take a look at Wednesday really quickly. Okay, so this day was just for a 930 expanded higher after the London session created a sweep, and this breaker was formed at 930 open, ran to the breaker, and then we started to trade higher from there. So this week I was pretty much convicted on price moving over to fulfill obviously a liquidity void that we had created. This is where it is. And then once that was filled, there was a bigger priority of filling a more lower, sorry, more lower liquidity void. So after this day dropped lower, and we had price on Friday reject higher and create this gap here. I thought that the kind of objective for movement lower was met, which was just liquidity void. That explains the big move lower on Tuesday. So what I was expecting from here is that we would run up and touch into this gap here. Now, unfortunately, on Friday that did not happen, and that's where we get into our trades. So here's the first trade. We took London sell side, then we created this smaller one long, and then we had a inversion here. Granted, it wasn't the best, most displacing inversion, so it was a more poor trade, and we took that and lost. So we only risked 0.5% here, so there was no news. But the idea was very convicted on going high. I was very convicted on price to move higher, and the fact that it lost is unfortunate. But we were caught in accumulation and it ended up working. Well, I was very convicted on longs either way. The trade after that is a couple of minutes after the previous loss. See how I try it again. We have a more displacing inversion. Then this gap here is it's considerable compared to the one that we took the first long on, and this one ended up losing as well. Um, you know, I like this one too, but we were just caught in a period of accumulation, so that didn't end up working. Now, I actually want to go on Thursday really quickly. I want to see if we did end up forcing higher. No, we created a model one more, which was very nice, and then we just ended up accumulating until we close. What the? I just opened ChatGPT by accident. Anyway, um, now let's talk about the trade that we took on Friday. This trade, not the most proud of it, but one thing that I do want to note here is that I was convinced that we were going to move higher. I had high conviction that we were going to move higher, and obviously I lost the trade. But I want to go on day reviews for this trade. And look at here. Or sorry, look. There's a 5-minute chart. Okay, so I don't have the 5-minute chart, but we see that we ran pre-market, and once we ran pre-market, we were trading within this area of a weekly wick. So this area here on daily is a weekly wick, which you can see right here. I'm expecting the price would within these remaining 9 hours reject higher and keep this gap open. And well, the weekly we did remain within those boundaries, but from what I was expecting, it was very let's say it was very wrong. I mean, I guess you could say that. So you see the 5-minute chart. I was expecting that price would run a pre-market and remain within this wick, and from there we would see movement higher. And what ended up happening was that we, you see that we ran pre-market sell side, and we touched the bottom of the wick, which is an indicator that we might not be as bullish as we thought, because I would have liked the sweep to remain within the boundaries of the wick without reaching the other end. But once we saw the run lower happen again, I decided to take it long. But the issue that I had here was I saw this run higher happen as 10 a.m. As 10 a.m. open news release happened. We opened and we started to trade lower. And we ran this inducement of longs here. And once that happened, I was very convinced this was going to move higher. I was very, very, very convinced. Wasn't going to be surprised even if it hit 25,354 and 0.75. So I ignored the fact that this sweep on the 5-minute was very shallow, and you see that the wick, or sorry, the bodies don't sweep the other bodies. So this is not a viable sweep for me to take. But I still took it because I was very convinced that I was going to move higher, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it's just an improbable thing. There is probably a world where this would have worked, but it didn't here. And that's just something that I can take notes on, and there's not much that I can do about it now. And yeah, you see that we've been on a very harsh losing streak. So that's it for this week. The next weeks are better, but it's important to keep in mind the rules because throughout this entire account there have been so much unnecessary losses that I keep repeating throughout every single evaluation. I don't know. This thing is it's very discouraging. That's one thing that I can say about it is that it's very discouraging when I see that in every single evaluation I'm repeating the same mistakes that caused me to have a lower PMF than I'm supposed to. I'm supposed to have a fraction of these losses. They're not supposed to be this often. but my own redundancy and um, doing these mistakes is costing me. So that is a very, very shiny point that I want to keep in mind. So thank you all for watching. Um, Hope you all have a nice weekend and good luck on the next trading week. And as always, be safe.